When it comes to Christopher Ward, the C65 has to be my favorite case. I actually own the C65 dive timer. The C65 is a vintage inspired case. It is a light catcher case, so it looks a lot like their other cases, but in a more vintage form. Today we're going to take a look at their latest release for the C65, and that is the Aquitaine. And this is a watch that is inspired by 1950 dive watches. They also mention Jacques Cousteau a few times in their literature about this watch. It has a sapphire bezel insert, which is domed. A really beautiful watch. I have a blue version in stainless steel to show you guys. Let's flip the camera and take a look at the Aquitaine. So a little bit of deja vu. Yesterday I did an unboxing of the C63 Sealander Sapphire GMT, a beautiful GMT watch that was a limited edition. Today I have a standard edition version of the new C65 Aquitaine. So this is a upgraded version, I guess, of the C65 because this is a 200-meter dive watch with a sapphire bezel insert. So they're upgrading it or elevating the C65 with this watch. It's inspired by 1950s watches. You're going to see a little bit of inspiration from, certain major dive watches that came out in the 1950s. Jacques Cousteau is definitely mentioned a few times on their website when referencing this watch. So pretty cool. Comes in Christopher Ward packaging, bamboo and leatherette. Is it useful? No, because it's something that you're just going to put aside. I always prefer to have a roll or something like that, but this is a nice box. It's something that you could actually leave out and maybe use in some capacity. Here is the watch, and really what we're here for is, of course, the watch. And this is the blue dial stainless steel version. There was a bunch of different versions that they came out with. They came out with a bronze version. I believe that's COSC certified. This is the non-COSC certified version. Those are like $200 more than this version. Whether or not that makes a difference to you, of course, it might be important to some, maybe not important to others. This is their C65 case. This is my favorite case from Christopher Ward. It is a light catcher case, but it is very vintage inspired. You can see it's powered by a Sellita SW200, as I mentioned, non-COSC certified. And this is on the oak leather strap. They also make this on a bracelet. The bracelet for this is basically the same bracelet that you get from Christopher Ward on the C65, on the C63. You have the micro adjust and everything, but it looks really good on this watch. It looks really good. This watch looks really good with a bracelet. I'll throw a picture of this watch up so you can see what I'm talking about. So blue dial, blue bezel. The bezel is a domed piece of sapphire crystal. It is loomed, and it takes a lot of inspiration from the 50 Fathoms, of course. You also have applied indices. You have the Christopher Ward hands. And you can see you sort of have a dagger hour hand, fence post minute hand, and a lollipop second hand. Everything is filled with loom, so the hands and indices are filled with loom. And then you get a boxed sapphire crystal because this is their sort of vintage inspired dive watch. So you get a boxed sapphire crystal rather than a dome sapphire crystal, which I really love. I love a boxed sapphire crystal. You get a big signed, deeply etched Christopher Ward crown, screwed in case back. Again, you can see that decorated rotor. It's the Christopher Ward flag on there, and it's just nicely etched into the rotor of the watch. One change to note here is the logo. So the dial on this has the logo at the 12 o'clock or just below the 12 o'clock index, and it is the Christopher Ward double flag logo. So they're no longer putting the word Christopher Ward on the dial. That is a big change, and that is something that they actually upgraded on their other dive watches. So I just saw that they released a new version of their dual crown. That is the super compressor, the real super compressor that you can buy from Christopher Ward, has a clear case back, has a Sellita SW200, but you could see that spring. It's in a red color, and you could actually see that from the case back. It's a true super compressor. It gets 150 meters of water resistance. Beautiful watch. A lot of people complained about the position of the Christopher Ward on that dial. Now what they've done is they've put this logo, basically the same setup as this dial. Very good idea. They're listening to the reviewers. They're listening to a lot of the comments in videos. So I've always said it doesn't really bother me very much, but I know a lot of people are bothered by that. So they listened and they've changed it up a little bit. It really doesn't make that much of a difference to me if it's at the 12 o'clock or at the 9 o'clock. So there you go. Now, these are thinner. They're thinner than their modern cases. So the C63 and the C60. This is a 41 millimeter case. It's basically 41 millimeter. I have a C65. Mine is 41 millimeters as well. They don't really wear like a 41 millimeter, but it's 12.5 millimeters thick. But this is 200 meters water resistance, which is good. So not that bad considering. And you have a display case back, which is screwed in. And they also shorten the lug to lug a little bit. So it's 6.7 millimeters. Very, very good. A little bit bigger on the bracelet if you buy it on the bracelet. 6.9 millimeters for the crown. So a big crown. The bezel action on this watch is excellent. I actually wore this to work the other day and it was very, very quiet. And then I just looked at the bezel and I was like, you know what? Let me try the bezel action out. And it was quiet and this made such a loud noise. People actually looked over to see what that was. It sounded like someone opening a giant safe. It sounds very, very good, feels very good, and lines up perfectly with the 12 o'clock index. It's just really nice. A very, very good bezel action. One of the best that I've had from Christopher Ward, and usually Christopher Ward do a great job with bezel action. Now, the other thing here to note is, of course, you get the date at the 6 o'clock. That's something that Christopher Ward loved to do. It replaces the index at 6 o'clock. I don't care for it, but it does look good. It sort of blends in with the dial because it does replace an index and it is white, so it blends in a little bit better that way. That being said, I'd love a dateless version of this watch. But very quickly, unscrewing the crown, this is a little something else that they've done. I think they call it a dry marsh. I don't know why, but they've also added some like red in the crown so that you know that your crown is unlocked. I love that option. Not a lot of brands do it. It's just a very simple way of alerting you that your crown is unlocked. So when you push it in, you still see that red. When you screw the crown in, you can see a little bit of red, but it's not very obvious. And I really do like that. That is a very good option, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do. It adds a little bit to the watch that, you know, makes it a little bit safer to wear, or just a little safety mechanism. It adds a little color as well. Not a bad option whatsoever. Everything is smooth. The crown operates very nicely. Just an appealing watch all around. Now the price on these, this watch with this oak leather and the Christopher Ward buckles. You have the Christopher Ward buckle. This is a very typical Christopher Ward buckle, milled, very nicely made. This watch costs $1,090. If you want it on the bracelet, it's $1,250. They did increase the water resistance from 150 to 200 meters. That doesn't really bother me at all. 150 was great. 200 is even better, but I don't use either, so not a big deal. And this does get, of course, lume. It's like C1, X1, I believe, on the bezel and the indices and hands. We'll do a lume shot. Very good lume on here. So a few upgrades that they've done, and they're charging a little bit more money for these watches. These are the automatic versions with the sapphire bezels. I'm imagining they're going to come out with other versions that maybe don't have a sapphire bezel, maybe for less money. And then they'll come out with ones that are still in that hand wound range. They have affordable versions of the C65, so I think this is probably the upper range of the C65 now. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think they're going for. I love the C65. I think it's a great case, and it's a really good looking watch. Let's quickly do lume and then wrap up the video, because the lume on here is very good, but I'm going to throw it on my wrist very quickly before we do the lume shot. So today I am wearing the Sealander. This is the C63 Sealander GMT Sapphire Bezel, so the smoky sapphire bezel. I literally just released a video about this watch yesterday. The C63, and I almost said 5 again, but the C63 is their Land C version, the Sealander, and it has 150 meters of water resistance, but it is thicker than this watch, and this gets 200 meters of water resistance. So I don't know why that is. But that does have a Sellita SW330. That could be the reason why. It's a GMT movement. Maybe it's a little bit thicker. Not sure entirely, but here is the C65 on my 7.5 inch wrist. And you can see it wears like a 41 millimeter watch. It wears maybe a little bit smaller than that, but not really. I think it probably in that range of a nice 41 millimeter watch. It doesn't wear as small as the 39 millimeter Sealander, but it wears closer to your wrist than the Sealander does. So you can see what I'm saying. It wears very, very close to your wrist. It's nice. Really, really nice. And the bezel action. So like I said, I own a C65 and my bezel action's pretty good. Maybe not as good as this, but I stand by this. Like, I love the C65. I purchased that with my own money. I have the dive timer. It's a limited edition of 150 pieces. One of my favorite watches in my collection. It's really my go-to watch when I go on vacation. I bring that watch. I wear it pretty often because I think it's a really good looking watch and really well made and has adjustability, the whole thing. And I paid like $700 and change for that watch. Excellent price. Anyway, very quickly, a loom shot. There you go. It's very liberally applied to the indices and hands. You have a little pip that is loomed, so you can see that it's running in the dark. I really like that. The bezel is nicely loomed, not as liberally as the dial, as the indices and hands, but it's decently applied with loom. I really love Christopher Ward. I love what they do. I think they do a really good job and give you a watch that is somewhat affordable, but is really a watch that could be priced a lot higher considering the quality of the components, specifically the light catcher case. They do a good job with the bezels, the bezel action. Their straps are very good. Everything about the watches I think is pretty well done for the price range for what they're charging for them. Anyway, tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Christopher Ward? Do you agree with me? Are they a micro independent brand? Or are they a micro brand? I think they're a little bit more than a micro brand. I think they're like one step above a micro brand, but I wouldn't call them an independent brand because they're not doing tons of in-house stuff. They're doing some of it, but I wouldn't call them an independent brand because that's a little bit more of a elevated category. So I would say a micro independent brand is where they would sit, and that's something that I usually use as a term on my channel. I'm not sure a lot of people are even familiar with it, but that's how I sort of refer to brands like this. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.